27-year-old Justine Abshire, a beloved kindergarten teacher, found dead from what seemed like a random late-night motor accident, however, was soon clouded by inconsistencies. And as investigators dug deeper into dynamics between the seemingly happily newlywed couple, a far more chilling theory emerged, implying this was no accident at all. In this video, we'll examine the conflicting accounts and evidence details that ultimately brought a killer spouse to conviction, but also understand what compelled Justine to ignore red flags and remain trapped in a relationship where she lost not only her dignity and agency, but her very life. Our story starts in 1999 when 20-year-old Justine took a cashier job crossing paths with her brooding 26-year-old manager, Eric Abshire. Justine's warmth and Eric's dangerous magnetism catalyzed a swift, intense romance. Early on, Eric revealed having 2 young daughters from an ex, but this only made Justine more eager to create a blended home. To Justine, Eric represented maturity and worldliness with his marine background, but Eric's temper was quick and volatile. When displeased, he'd turn cold, criticize viciously, or disappear for days, leaving Justine groveling to regain his approval. This insidious emotional abuse slowly eroded Justine's confidence, so Eric's validation became like oxygen. She treaded carefully to avoid provoking his disdain. With Justine conditioned not to challenge Eric's authority, their relationship metastasized into physical abuse as well over the years. Loved ones noticed Justine growing more timid and isolated in contrast to her normally bubbly disposition. But behind closed doors, she hid even darker manifestations of Eric's escalating cruelty. As Eric's grip on Justine tightened, so did financial stresses, adding to marital friction. Eric's dump truck business struggled, leaving Justine as primary breadwinner. Eric's love bombing and manipulation convinced Justine to take him back after each breakup, however, until finally, in 2005, he proposed. Justine readily accepted, believing it signified Eric had changed for good. But wedding planning proved yet another source of strain. On their November 3rd wedding night in 2006, tensions boiled over, propelling this fateful tragedy. The night of November 3rd. At 7 p.m., an upset Justine left work, evading co-worker concerns about her puffy eyes. Security footage showed Justine climbing into her yellow Mustang wearing vibrant clothes, giving no inkling this was her last living night. She attended class 30 minutes late before rushing home to Eric at 9 p.m., appearing distressed. According to Eric's later recollection, their argument that night revolved around a family member hospitalized. Frustrated by Justine's probing questions, an impatient Eric claimed he went for a ride to clear his head. However, a closer examination of cell records contradicts his statement, indicating he remained stationary until a heated call from Justine at 1:19 a.m. reporting car trouble 5 miles away. Responding on his motorcycle, Eric found Justine severely injured on a desolate countryside road 20 minutes later, devoid of any passing cars. Local residents recall an unusually composed stranger, possibly Eric, knocking on doors that night, requesting assistance. The 911 call eventually came from one of these homeowners at 1:57 a.m. Eric later admitted to having his cell phone, initially unnoticed, in his pocket during the incident. While initially appearing as a hit and run, the police investigation swiftly unveiled a lack of typical evidence associated with such incidents. No broken glass, skid marks, tire tracks, debris, or blood on Justine or her clothing. Authorities began to suspect that her death wasn't the result of a random collision, but a deliberate act. Further complicating matters, the police discovered that Justine's car, despite Eric's claim of mechanical issues, was in working order with no defects found. This inconsistency heightened suspicions about the accuracy of Eric's account. Justine's close relationship with her parents and sister added another layer of complexity. Eric's brother delivered the devastating news of her death, leaving her family bewildered. Knowing Justine's fear of the dark and shadows, it seemed implausible that she'd choose to drive alone at night. The confusion deepened when considering the circumstances of Justine's body being found 600 feet away from her car, which contained her purse, coat, and keys. Questions arose about why she'd leave these belongings and walk away, especially when she'd called Eric to come and pick her up. 2 days after Justine's memorial service, a significant revelation unfolded. Heidi, Justine's mother, sharing her grief in a restaurant, was approached by an empathetic employee. Heidi, in her distress, disclosed the heartbreaking story of Justine's death, describing it as a fatal hit and run. However, the woman revealed a shocking truth. Justine had not died in a hit and run. She'd been murdered, and suspicion fell on Eric as the prime suspect. As the police delved deeper, they uncovered an account from Eric presenting the evening as normal. Justine returned home after 7 p.m. from her class, and Eric arrived shortly after. They spent time together until Eric received a call from Martha Jefferson Hospital about his ailing mother. Claiming he stayed at the hospital until 11:30 p.m., Eric disclosed that instead of heading straight home, he went to their storage unit on Route 33 in Ruckersville. Storing his motorcycle there, he left his car behind and embarked on a ride to clear his head, returning home around 12:30 a.m. During that time, Justine was awake and eager to engage in conversation, but a dispute erupted between her and Eric regarding his mother's health, a subject Eric was evidently hesitant to broach. According to Eric's account to the police, he expressed the need for solitude, to which Justine allegedly retorted, "Well, maybe I need to be alone, too." Subsequently, Justine left, driving away in her 2002 Ford Mustang. Eric, apparently unfazed, informed the police that he wasn't concerned about Justine's departure, anticipating her return. He casually occupied himself by watching television until his next interaction with Justine at 1:19 a.m. That's when he received an angry call from her, explaining that her car had broken down. She requested him to pick her up, providing the exact location. Eric asserted that it took him approximately 10 to 15 minutes to leave the house after receiving Justine's call. He needed to put on his shoes, grab his jacket, keys, and helmet. According to his account, he located her between 1:39 a.m. and 1:44 a.m. The police found Eric's narrative suspicious, especially when juxtaposed with the crime scene and the severity of Justine's injuries. This skepticism prompted law enforcement to initiate a thorough investigation into the circumstances surrounding Justine's death. It would take 4 years, but the police eventually gathered enough evidence to officially charge Eric with the first-degree murder of his wife. In the courtroom, the prosecution put forth a compelling case, contending that Eric had committed the murder with the motive of terminating his marriage and securing financial gain. The prosecution disclosed that in the months leading up to the November incident, Justine underwent a significant transformation. She withdrew from friends, ignored calls, and even declined a friend's housewarming gift, citing Eric's prohibition on accepting gifts. The prosecution posited that Justine was killed at a different location and then strategically placed on the road where she was discovered, a meticulous plan orchestrated by Eric to stage a hit-and-run. Their argument suggested this elaborate scheme was devised to secure a $1.5 million insurance payout. Contrary to the notion of a vehicular collision, the nature of Justine's injuries raised suspicions. She sustained 113 blunt trauma injuries, including multiple broken bones, lacerated organs, and 23 head wounds. Strikingly, there was minimal blood at the scene. Testimonies from 2 medical examiners presented by the prosecution challenged the hit-and-run hypothesis. They argued that she was subjected to a brutal assault, including strangulation, and subsequently run over after her death. Dr. Todd Levitch, who conducted Justine's autopsy, testified that his findings aligned with manual strangulation, identifying deep tissue bruising in the neck muscles and hemorrhages in the eye and lip. He highlighted that Justine suffered severe internal injuries, some of which did not bleed, indicating they occurred after her death. The second medical examiner pointed out the inconsistency in blood volume, noting that the average female body typically contains 5 liters of blood, yet less than 1 liter was recovered from Justine. This incongruity, according to the prosecution, supported their argument that she was killed at a different location. The courtroom became a battleground of conflicting narratives as the intricacies of the case unfolded. Allison Crawford, Eric's high school sweetheart and the mother of his 2 children, took the stand and delivered a testimony laden with intricacies that cast a shadow over the events leading to Justine's tragic end. Less than 2 hours before Eric discovered Justine on that desolate road, he engaged Allison in a cascade of 43 calls, opening a window into a complex dynamic. Eric, amidst these conversations, unveiled lingering feelings for Allison and questioned her about their shared future. In the courtroom, Allison disclosed Eric's admission of regret for marrying Justine, adding an emotional layer to the unfolding narrative. Another witness, Cecil Roebuck, emerged as a pivotal figure in the prosecution's case. Claiming to be on the side roads of Greene County that fateful night in pursuit of a school bus, Roebuck recounted an encounter with a mysterious man. This man, he testified, approached him, claiming his wife's car was nearly out of gas. What transpired next, as Roebuck detailed, involved a strange request to follow the man to a gas station. However, the narrative took a sinister turn when the man, supposedly Eric, declared his own car was now out of gas. Offering an unwitting assistance, Roebuck provided the man a lift back home, oblivious to the potential connection to Justine's case until a program about her death aired 2 years later. Roebuck then connected the dots, believing he'd unknowingly aided Eric in staging the hit and run. As the trial unfolded, Justine's father, Steve Schwartz, took the stand to reveal a grim financial backdrop. He disclosed that Justine was the primary credit holder for the couple, burdened with a debt of $85,000 at the time of her death. Insurance claims adjusters painted a picture of Eric as the beneficiary of several policies, raising suspicions when less than 2 weeks after Justine's passing, he submitted an uninsured motorist claim. If approved, this claim could have entitled him to $100,000, with the potential for an additional $1.5 million if the commercial aspect was sanctioned. Adding to the financial complexity, Justine's name was listed on the insurance for one of the dumpster trucks. In 2009, Eric filed for bankruptcy, ultimately receiving $330,000, which was utilized to settle outstanding debts. This intricate financial web became a crucial dimension for the court's understanding of the case. During the trial, evidence emerged behind closed doors, including allegations of an affair Eric supposedly had a month before his wedding and just 3 days after Justine's death. The prosecution suggested that Eric possessed explicit photos of a woman but tore them up to avoid negative perceptions. Cell phone records were dissected, with the prosecution contending that Eric's claim of being at Martha Jefferson Hospital during critical periods was contradicted by the data, placing him at home instead. The prosecution presented compelling arguments about 2 crucial periods in the evening and early morning when Justine's call came in. Eric's purported use of his phone 157 times on the day of the incident raised doubts about his claim of only realizing his cell phone was in his pocket after finding Justine's body. Furthermore, the prosecution emphasized Eric's Marine background with CPR and first aid training, underscoring the unsettling fact that he allegedly made no attempt to assist Justine. In a disquieting revelation, the prosecution disclosed that Eric had a derogatory nickname for Justine, referring to her as Thing. The courtroom became a theater of intricacies, weaving a tale of complexity and suspicion around Eric's involvement in Justine's tragic fate. The defense asserted that Justine's death was the tragic outcome of a hit-and-run accident. They staunchly maintained the solidity of Eric's alibi, insisting he was at Martha Jefferson Hospital until 11:30 p.m., visiting his ailing mother, and later went to a storage unit to retrieve his motorcycle. To challenge the prosecution's narrative, the defense contended that the presented timeline didn't afford sufficient time for Eric to both commit the alleged murder and stage a hit-and-run. In a bid to paint a picture of marital bliss, the defense called Eric's brother as a witness, a man who had shared living quarters with the couple for a period. He testified to the genuine happiness in Eric and Justine's relationship, underscoring positive interactions with Justine. This testimony aimed to counterbalance the prosecution's portrayal of a troubled marriage. The defense directed skepticism toward witness Cecil Roebuck, questioning his credibility and suggesting ulterior motives. They insinuated that Roebuck's testimony might have been motivated by the $50,000 reward for information offered by Justine's parents, coupled with potential leniency in relation to 2 felony fraud charges he was facing, stemming from a $110,000 debt. The defense sought to undermine Roebuck's reliability by scrutinizing his intentions and potential biases. Despite the defense's relentless efforts to challenge the case, including raising doubts about the medical examiner's alleged omissions, the jury rendered a guilty verdict. Eric was found guilty of first-degree murder based on the compelling evidence presented during the trial, which included arguments about the nature of Justine's injuries, the sequence of events, and Eric's actions. The sentencing hearing brought forth poignant victim impact statements, including one from Justine's sister, Lauren. In a heart-wrenching testimony, Lauren painted a distressing picture of the deteriorating relationship between Eric and Justine. She revealed instances of physical abuse, recounting witnessing Eric shove Justine even before their marriage. Lauren disclosed that Justine, plagued by a sense of worthlessness, went to great lengths to please Eric, even on their wedding day. Friends and family noticed a profound change in Justine's personality. Once kind, loving, and friendly, she became withdrawn and quiet, a mere shadow of her former self. The testimony underscored the signs of discord, with Eric's violent past surfacing. Previous charges of malicious wounding and a protective order filed by the mother of Eric's children were brought to light. Eric claimed self-defense in these incidents. Throughout the 4-year investigation, Justine's family fought tirelessly for justice. Her father, Steve Schwartz, expressed a dual hope: resolution for Justine's case and a desire to prevent harm to others. The hearing concluded with a somber reflection on the tragic tale, prompting an invitation for opinions in the comments section. As we conclude this gripping and tragic tale, we invite you to share your thoughts on today's story. What are your opinions on the case? So, was Justine yet another victim of reprehensible domestic homicide, staged as a random accident, or simply collateral in one tragic night gone awry? If you found this video entertaining, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more riveting stories and daily updates. Hit the bell icon to ensure you never miss out on our latest releases.